Do they still have it? That's the question I want to ask about the new album, Ascension by Paradise Lost, released on September 19th, 2025. This is their 17th studio album, released through Nuclear Blast and produced by guitarist Gregor Mackintosh. Now here's something interesting. It's their first album of new material since 2020's Obsidian, and the longest gap between studio albums in the band's history, if you don't consider the re-recording of Icon with Icon 30 in 2023. Here's something else interesting about the band. They seem to have this revolving door of drummers, because in May 2025, before the album's release, drummer Guido Mackintosh, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that, he left the band and was replaced by Jeff Singer, who had previously played with Paradise Lost in the 2000s. The album was announced back in June, and the album's first single, Silence Like the Grave, was released on June 6, 2025. Other singles included Serpent on the Cross and Tyrants Serenade. I'll be talking about all of that in this video. With that being said, let's get into it. The album opens with Serpent on the Cross. It has a very dark and gothic sound. The guitars sound like violins, and the sound is slow and doomy. But this is not all slow music, as the song picks up the pace with some faster rhythms. What I like about this song is the fact that there are many layers of sound. There's also a lot of melody that goes along with the dark death metal style vocals. You can hear every instrument very well. The song has this big and epic feel. I also like the guitar solo. It was a nice balance of melody and technicality. The album starts off with a really great song, but then they continue with Tyrants Serenade. This was more of a mid-paced rocker. It has lots of melody. What I liked was the change in the vocals. They were more cleaner, gothic vocals, something like Joy Division, but they also used death growls. This was one of the more memorable songs. I was able to listen to this album early, so I've already listened to the entire album a few times, and this was one of the more memorable ones. The song has big guitars and awesome drumming, and I like it. Now, after hearing two of the singles, which were more on the accessible side, they move on to one of the more old school sounding tracks with Salvation. This one's slower, has some darker tones with deeper death growls. The pace is slow, but doesn't feel boring, as there's a lot of melody in the guitars. This has some of those slow and heavy guitar riffs with some almost psychedelic leads. They pick up the pace towards the end of the song with some more aggressive vocals, so I thought it was a nice touch and worked well in the context of the song. It's also the longest track at over 7 minutes. But after an old school sounding album cut, the next song is the lead single, Silence Like the Grave. This one's very epic sounding with a slow build that goes into some cool epic doom style guitar riffs. I thought the guitar sounded like Candlemass, but the vocals had a very different sound. I thought it's a very good song. It's catchy, but there's a lot going on with the instrumentation. There's also some awesome lead guitar work that gives the song a gothic feel. Now the rest of the album is just non-singles, and here's where things get interesting because we have some acoustic guitars. The song is called Lay a Wreath Upon the World. It's like some gothic folk music and a riff that sounded like the Beatles and I Love Her. But the song is full of surprises because they bring in some female vocals and some tribal drums. The song's very laid back. It picks up a little in the second half. The song has lots of atmosphere and one of my favorites on the album. After this next one was another song, a little more old school sounding with slow guitar riffs. The song is called Delirium. I think it's one for fans that are old school sounds of the 90s. I liked it, although it was not one of my top songs. I like the second half of the song when they pick up the pace and play it a little faster. Then at the end of the song, they bring back those slow guitar riffs. So this one was decent. Not one of my favorites, but it was good. We're more than halfway through the album. Next one is very slow and emotional. The song is called Savage Days. It had more of that gothic folk sound with slower rhythms and clean vocals. They also incorporate acoustic guitars in the song. I thought it was very good. There are lots of distorted guitars that create this big layer of atmosphere that forms the backdrop of the melodic lead guitars. After this was a song that had more of those fuzzy, distorted guitars. The song's called Sirens. I guess it was one of those more traditional heavy metal sounding songs that still had their signature sounds. It was a good one. For some reason, the vocals reminded me of James Hetfield, so it made me think it's that kind of song Metallica could cover. But anyway, song had lots of elements of Gothic music and different vocal styles. It's also one of my favorites. It's filled with cool guitar riffs. There are 2 more tracks, not counting the bonus tracks. The next one is called Deceivers. It's another one that had a faster rhythm, elements of thrash metal, but still has the band's signature sounds. There was a lot of clean and heavy vocals and some death growls. The guitar solo was one of my favorites, also one of the shortest songs. Now we get to the final album track, and it's called The Precipice. This one's very atmospheric. It has piano, distorted guitars, but very slow with clean and Gothic vocals. It's one of those songs that has a very dreamy atmosphere. They maintain a slow pace. They also incorporate some death growls. I like the fact that the song goes through many changes as they bring in chugging guitars in the second half of the song. There was also this extended guitar solo towards the end, which I liked a lot. Now this album has 2 bonus tracks. We're going to talk about them because I have nothing better to do and nowhere to go. So let's see what they're all about. The first bonus track is called This Stark Town. It has a very dark and ominous intro with some chanting sounds. They're bringing this guitar riff with some distortion, and the song builds up. So far, I'm anticipating what's going on with the song. I thought it was pretty good. It had some of those elements of traditional heavy metal. It wasn't slow-moving, very Gothic sounding, clean vocals, and they later incorporate the death growls. Another one of those songs that has some faster and slower movements with some heavy and light balance and lots of changes. I don't know why it's a bonus track. They probably could have been on the album, so it was a really good song. Now there's one more bonus track. We're going to talk about it before I get to my final thoughts and score. The name of the song is A Life Unknown. It's pretty cool. It has their signature melodic leads, but with a faster, more aggressive drum beat. It's another Gothic sounding song with clean vocals, and I like it. Kind of has a little bit more energy than some of the slower tracks. And now for my final thoughts. But first, a little context, because I've never really listened to this band that much. The only full album I listened to before this was the album Host from 1999, which was when they completely changed their sound and made a synth pop album. I listened to it for an episode of Is It That Bad? I actually liked that album a lot. It's very different, but the songs were very good. And I like this new album a lot. I'm interested in checking out their other albums now. I know they have a lot. Supposedly this is number 17. But this album is awesome. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. I think it has a stronger front half, but I like all the songs. There's nothing that I didn't like. And the 2 bonus tracks were good. I listened to those 2 bonus tracks for the first time, preparing this because my promo didn't have those tracks, but that is all. Check out this video right here. I'm going to put something similar. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. If you have not already, I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. I will see you in the next one.